Hi, I'm Quincas and I'm a synth DIY guy. Welcome to Pico Patches number 5, the Pico 3 drum machine. So I've come up with a way to turn the Pico system into a self-contained 3-voice beat machine, right? With a kick, a hi-hat, and a sort of a snare. And I've done this with a minimum of external aids. Basically, I'm using 3 gate-to-trigger converters, 1 standalone patch pal, and 2 in my Pico expander, and I'm using 1 of the attenuators here, and I'm using 2 multiples, the hopscotch that comes with the system and the Luigi's Ninja Star over here. And I've planned out the patch so that it can very easily be turned into a patch card, a preset card. So I've printed out a few of these patch sheets from the Eric Synth's website because I've run out in the patch book that comes with the system. Took me a few drafts to get it drawn up to where it's intelligible, to where it's easy to kind of follow what I'm doing. It's going to be easier to follow on this than in the Black Spaghetti Monster over here. I haven't used the tendrils cables today because they're used up on another patch that I don't want to take apart yet. So without further ado, let's check out my 3 voices. So voice number 1, which is input number 1 on mix 1 over here, is, as you can hear, sort of a white noise hi-hat. And basically, if we look over here in the patch card, the mod module has a noise output. That noise output is going into the input of the VCA that's available in the VCO control module. This VCA is being controlled by voltage controlled envelope generator number 1, which in turn is being triggered by the pulse output of the mod module. That pulse output is going through a capacitor, so it's a gate to trigger converter. So I can get a nice snappy short little trigger triggering this envelope generator so that I can get a nice short hi-hat sound for the closed hi-hat. But I'm also sending the decay CV input of this envelope generator. I'm sending it the sample and hold over here from the mod output. So that's what's opening up. It's varying, randomly varying the decay of my voltage controlled envelope generator number 1, almost as if a real live drummer were improvising these open hi-hats. So that's nice. It gives it a nice random variation so that it doesn't sound so repetitive. And the output of the VCA here is going into input 1 of mix 1. So let's turn that down. Now voice number 2 is that nice kick drum right there. And that kick drum is basically, let's see what's going into input number 2 here. It's that green line. So it's the low pass gate number 1. We have resonance all the way high so that it's oscillating. Basically, we're using it as a sine wave oscillator. The offset's about a little bit before half. It's set to voltage controlled filter, of course, since the VCA would not resonate. And we're sending its control voltage input a signal from the sequencer here, going through another capacitor, acting as a gate to trigger converter. Now, why am I using the sequencer output? That's interesting. Well, I'm basically using the sequencer as a clock divider, right? As you can see, I'm sending it the pulse. So that's what the multiple's for. The same pulse output that's triggering our hi-hat sound is also triggering the sequencer, but now 3 of the sequencer steps are all the way down to 0, and 1 of them is high. So basically we get a low gate, low gate, low gate, high gate. So we're dividing that clock by 4, right? If I want to divide it by 2, I can turn up the second step of the sequencer, and that could be a cool fill even. And even the amplitude does affect it. Because since I don't have a third envelope generator, and I'm using number 2 here for our snare sound, as you'll see soon, I'm using the capacitor basically as a very rudimentary envelope generator to just make the necessary fast attack, short decay envelope that I need to trigger our low pass gate acting as a kick drum, and its output is going into input 2 of the mixer here. Now, let's close that up. And our third voice is our sort of snare kind of sound, or clap, or whatever you want to call it. This one's a little bit more complex, so let's have a look. Input 3 of the mixer is getting its signal from the output of low pass gate 2, which is acting as a VCA, so resonance is all the way low, offset's all the way low. So let's see what signal is going into the audio input here. So let's follow this purple line, and it's the pulse output of VCO 1. Now VCO 1 is set to as high as it'll go, so tune is all the way high and the octave switch is all the way high. And the shape output from VCO 2 is going into the exponential FM input of the VCO control module, which is sending that exponential FM to VCO 1. So we're using one VCO number 2, to exponentially frequency modulate VCO 1 here, so we don't get the clean sound, so we get sort of a more complex sound. Now the envelope generator number 2, which is triggering that low pass gate, is also, it's split, so that's our other splitter, the hopscotch, is also going through an attenuator, which is this attenuator over here, and it's modulating the 1 volt per octave input of VCO 1. So that's what's giving it that choo 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 sound, right? So if I make my envelope generator number 2 a little bit longer, we can hear that. And if I turn the attenuator, we can hear how it can go from like a steady note to a wider frequency sweep as we move it. So that's what the attenuator is for. It'll give us variation on that snare drum sound. Now I like it short. I think it's more rhythmic if I keep the envelope short. And it just makes it, so now the attenuator just makes it like brighter or darker. Right, and we're not affecting VCO2 at all. We could though, we could split that output one more time and send it to both VCOs at the same time. That could be an experiment you could do. But I kind of like it the way it is right now. Now, those are the 3 voices, and the output of mix 1 is going into the input of the bucket brigade delay, which right now is set to fully dry. But if I turn it wet, so this can be a cool performance variation, kind of a flanger, like a fast time, mid feedback, right? And I have the filter in the middle position here. I didn't notate that. Let me notate that. Filter in the middle position. No time CV, simple, keep it simple. I'm basically using pretty much every module in the Pico System 3 except for one of the mixers over here. The output mixer, I'm just using it as an output really, where I'm sending the out of the bucket brigade delay into the input of mix 3, and that's what's going out to my interface right now and getting recorded. So let's listen to that beat. Of course, my clock rate is the mod rate over here. Make it real fast or more slower, funkier. I kind of like it like a little more driving. You can make a fill using the sequencer here. And I can change the sound of our snare with the attenuator. Make it a little louder. That's pretty good right there. We can also vary the pitch of the kick drum. It can also act as sort of a, if I change the clock divider and the pitch at the same time, do an interesting fill that way. And we can play with the dry wet here. Cool. So that's it. That's the Pico System 3 as a standalone 3-voice randomized drum machine. So let's make a card for it and see if it works, right? Okay, let's turn this down for now. Okay, so I've built a card. I don't know if you can see buried in there, there's a couple of capacitors, 3 of them. One of them actually went on the front here. I figured it doesn't really bother, doesn't make it any less slim. And I've also put in a potentiometer to act as the attenuator that we have over here. And it turned out very nicely because precisely over the envelope generator number 2 that I'm using for that is the ground. So that worked out nicely. I didn't have to extend it too far. It is wobbly because I haven't yet done my hot gluing procedure, because I will first test this and make sure that it's working correctly before I hot glue it. Imagine if I hot glue it and had to fix it again, that would be a mess. I would probably pulling the hot glue out, ruin the card, and have to redo the whole thing. So here we go, this moment of truth. Let's pull out all of the cables from my Pico 3. We'll keep all the knob positions and switch positions, and we'll see if I did okay with the patch card. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. If I did, we'll try to locate them and fix them, and then put on all the hot glue. Looks much cleaner, doesn't it? Without so much cablage. So here we go. Let's put that in there. Stick it in. I haven't even put a name on it yet. See that it's working. And already we get the LED action. Let's just turn by main volume. And there it is. Okay, so let's turn it off for now and finish up that card. Okay, here's the final test. Card is finished. Lots of hot glue holding it in place. The pot is nice and sturdy now, and the circuit itself is protected. So let's stick it in and see if it works. Still works. And volume up. There it is. Let's jam a little bit. Seems we have a mistake that I only just noticed. It looks like our output from envelope 1, which should only be affecting the hi-hat, is affecting this voice right here. That's unfortunate. Gonna have to go back, take a look, and see if I can fix this. It's still pretty cool. Be thought of as a bonus. Extra interference there. Still pretty cool. I could just leave it. this out if I switch from LPG2 from VCA to VCF. That sounds pretty damn cool too. Alright, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video. If you did, hit like, subscribe. Think about joining my Patreon. If you join the deluxe tier, you get these audio files as well as all the audio files from every demo I make in WAV format for personal use. And you also get your name on this list. So thank you again. See you soon and stay noisy. So good news, I was able to remove the hot glue without damaging the circuit. It was much easier than I thought. It took a little plier handiwork as well, but I was then able to find the fault. I basically had connected the low pass gate 2 to the envelope generator number 1, which was responsible for the hi-hat, which is why our amplitude for the snare drum was responding the same as the hi-hat. So once I removed the glue, I just disconnected that, reconnected it to the envelope generator number 2 where it was supposed to go, reapplied the hot glue, and here it is now totally fixed. If I want that same effect that I was getting before, I can just connect with the cable. So let's see, it's working, and there it is.